Hi guys, I'm Thomas Moran, and am I a professional gambler? So I want to do this video, guys, because on my last video on Ascot, on the winnings I had at Ascot, I had quite a lot of comments, and I've had this throughout my career, throughout my life, and I wanted to talk about what an actual professional gambler is, and more importantly, am I a professional gambler? Am I a fraud? There was someone in the comments on the Ascot video that said, you clearly done okay in the bets, but you can't be a professional gambler because you had £25 on a horse at even money. Someone else then put a professional gambler would not be putting £30 bet on an each way lucky 15. And it just got me thinking because, I've had this throughout my whole life. I've had people saying get a proper job, and then I also had my wife say, you don't need to do this video. Why do you need to do the video? But for me, it did trigger me because it's triggered me throughout my whole career, really, because no one's really said, well done, you're doing well. It's normally, are you really doing that? Get a proper job. Surely you can't keep making profit month over month. So if you like this video, guys, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. I would really appreciate it. So things to start with, I thought, even for me, I was just like, okay, if I'm going to do this video, we need to define what a professional gambler is. And so obviously I typed in professional gambler into Google, and it says what is considered professional gambling. A professional gambler is someone who has complete control over the time, money, and energy they spend on gambling. That's an interesting one. I was a bit confused by that because I would assume most people that are pretty good at what they do have complete control over the time, money, and energy they spend on it. So for me, that didn't really work, even though it would be amazing for me just to go, yeah, there's your video, guys. I believe and I have complete control over the time, the money, and the energy I spend on gambling. Bingo, job done. But yeah, that didn't really cut it for me. So then I looked again, and what is considered professional gambling, and it's someone who has, again, the same thing that was said before, complete control of time, money, and energy. They seem to be more skilled than other gamblers and considered low risk. But again, how I bet as what I believe as a professional gambler is very different to someone else who I believe would be a professional gambler. Whenever I've talked about professional gambling to someone, if I've gone on a stag do with people I don't know that well, they've come in and they've asked me what I do, and I've said I'm a professional gambler, they either think you are the richest man alive, you're a millionaire, or they think, which is what most people believe from what I gather, is that you're potless, you're lying, you're the J from the in-betweeners. You say you have £500 on at 4-1, and that pays for your month's worth of winnings. Or you do win quite a lot. You might win, say, £2,000, but then your losers will account to 3,000, and they think that you don't realise that. They think that you win £2,000, you tell everyone you're doing £2,000, but then after everything, you've lost £3,000, so you're actually £1,000 down. I've never heard anyone go, oh, how much do you actually make? Do you actually make, do you make £500 a month? Do you make 1,000, 10,000? There's a very middle part of that where there will be quite a few gamblers, I can imagine, although I don't actually know any professional gamblers. I have to admit that. I don't know anyone. I've never had any help with what I do. I had to learn everything from scratch. I've never been paid for articles, because I've never been paid to go on TV and talk about things. I think a lot of people, they get into this business, they realise it's really hard, you get banned, and then you find other alternative ways of making money. Nothing wrong with that, absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I don't know if that is completely being a professional gambler. I think there's a lot of guys that would say they might be professional gamblers on the TV, but they might be getting paid, £2,000 a month for doing TV appearances and stuff. That's lovely for their bankroll, because then they can just, even if they lose £1,000, they're still £1,000 up on that. I've never had anything from that. Never had any money from any, writing any articles. I thought about doing it for a while, but to be honest, it's not something that I've ever done and never been paid for. So that's another very different style of things for me. So even this definition did not work for me using in this video. And then I came across just an AI overview. professional gambler is someone who relies on gambling winnings as their primary source of income, approaching it with a business-like mindset and employing strategies to consistently win. I think that's a very good explanation. It's going to lead to more questions. I think this is quite accurate. Someone who relies on gambling winnings. For me, what always was when I thought I was a professional gambler was that if I made enough to pay for my bills, that was it. You know, even if my bills might be higher than someone else's, even if my bills might be a lot less than someone else's, if I'm making enough money every month, plus some extra to enjoy every month from from gambling, surely that to me was always what a professional gambler won. Doesn't matter if you bet £25 on an even money shot, £30 on lucky 15s, or if you bet, you know, £1,000 on a boxing fight at even money. That to me, they made no difference. You know, you could have someone that bets 1,000 bets a month, or you could have someone that bets one bet every month, makes £2,000 and is incredibly happy making a living doing that. So I think what we need to do really, more than anything, probably to get to know me a little bit better about the gambling side of things, and to maybe help some people that think that I might not be a professional gambler, that I might just be doing a little bit on the side from something else, is the fact that, you know, I started in 2003. My first bet was a scorecast with an outsider and a 1-0 win for Germany. And the price was 90-1. I put £1 on Stan James and it won me 90 quid. And that was the start for me. I knew from then, if I can make £90 from this, from £1, this game is for me. I'm going to research, I'm going to logically try and work out how to constantly make money, even though at that point in time I was only 17, shouldn't have had an account, but I bet, I won, sparked my interest. That month, I remember, because I was like, I need to write down what if I win or lose. I didn't know anything about odds, I didn't know anything about, you know, how to win. Nobody talked about it, none of my friends were interested in it. There might have been some that might have had a few small bets on the football and just, you know, just out of interest, but nobody talked about it. We weren't interested in gambling, but I realised there was something here. So I wrote down all my bets and I made £700 that first month, my first ever month gambling. And this is another thing that I want to sort of cross off, is a lot of people believe that you have to lose money to learn to then, in the end, profit. I don't believe that. My poker career started winning and I never looked back. There's something special about me. I think I just did things professionally, accidentally at the start. I got lucky with the sports bet, the 90 quid. That gives me a little, you know, because at college, you know, well, before college, 90 quid was a lot of money, especially in 2003, and I didn't really have the kind of money to be ploughing into big bets. So that 90 quid was, you know, it meant I could bet 5 here, then 10 here and 6 there and all that, and learn where I'm making mistakes, where I'm not. For me, I just took it very seriously. I just thought, well, you know, this is money. I want to try and earn more from it, and I want to get good at this. So I want to get good at it, and I need to win to get good at it. But if I start losing, that's rubbish. And the same with poker. When I first started playing poker, and I played the free tables to learn very quickly. Within a few days, I read 6 poker books in about a week and a half. I went on holiday, read a few, then read a few when I got back, and that was it. I realised I think I've got the structure for this. My head is clearly something that can understand percentages. I can understand when to put your money in, when to not. It was a much easier game then in 2007, 6 maybe when I first started. It was a much simpler game, and I played tournament poker. First ever proper $2 tournament I played, I won $250, and it was the same like my sports betting. I didn't need to lose to then go on and win. My first ever tournament, I played a few cash games prior to that where I lost a few $5 just learning the game, so I was down a little bit then. But the actual, when I started, okay, this is the time, I won, and then did not look back from there. And that was it from my sports betting. And I suppose I wanted to use this for this video to tell you that there were times through uni that I was betting really quite big. I had £3,500 on Amir Khan to beat Barrera at even money, so that won to win £3,500 in just one bet. Manny Pacquiao to beat De La Hoya, that massive odds, 10-3, I had 400 and something pounds on that. I had 12 grand on Carl Froch to win a fight. I had thousands of pounds. And I think if I showed those bets and I showed me doing what I was doing in uni, everyone would be like, that is what a professional gambler is. They bet big, they bet hard on one or two things a month, and that's it. They win money, that's all they did. What I realised was I was very good, and still am very good, at predicting match bets with, say, boxing, where there's two fighters. I can get a really good, idea on everything. You can't go too far wrong with boxing, whereas with horse racing there might be 15 runners, so many things. It takes me a long time. With boxing, a lot of it I already knew. I'd already watched a lot of the fighters. I'd already watched the pre-fights, so it was really sort of using what knowledge I had, plus looking at Twitter, looking at other things, asking questions, watching YouTube videos, and then formulate my opinion, bet big, and then go from there. Whereas I think people will now see that Ascot video and they'll see, for me, I was really proud that I'd won 450 quid or whatever it was, and in Cheltenham, because you guys might not know, but horse racing isn't my top sport. It's actually quite low down on the sports that I actually bet on. Boxing is definitely my first, but even things like golf, darts, even the sport, even the kind of special events like X Factors, Big Brothers, I would rank them higher than my knowledge on horse racing. I've been betting on horse racing for probably 25, well, since I've been watching horse racing for probably 25 years, but probably betting on it since really the start, 2003, 2004. So I've been betting on it a long time, 21 years. I still would not say that I have a massive edge and I'm great. I had a really good period where speed ratings were doing really well for me. That sort of edged off a little bit. Then I had a draw bias where system that was working for me. Now I feel I'm very good on odds on races and certain other races, but you take me to a big race meeting like Ascot and Cheltenham, I feel I'm going to win, but I don't think I'm going to do that well. So I'm not that confident of putting a few hundred quid on a horse at even money. That's not how I play it. Whereas you could throw me, you could show me and ask me to bet on a certain boxing event, and if I liked it, I would happily put quite a lot of money on it, just like that. Whereas even money on a horse race, I'm really happy I made £450 at Ascot. I really enjoyed watching it. But also what people have got to realise about the Ascot and the Cheltenham, I'm not just betting on Ascot and Cheltenham. There might be actually one of the races I like, there was an odds-on race, a 4-to-1 shot, and I had my biggest bet of the week on that, and it won. I was actually hoping for a place, but and the win's a massive bonus. It won, and that won me quite a bit of money. But that wasn't what the video was for. And if people think that that's just all I did that week, it's a little naive to think that that's all I'm doing. I might have been betting tennis, golf. there are some weeks that I'm very lazy and I do very little, especially if I've made money prior to that. If I've had a good month, good 2 weeks, and I'm really lazy, I might have 2 weeks off because I've done well. Or on the flip side of that, if I've not done very well, I might try a bit harder and bet on tennis, golf, darts, everything, and even look into things that I haven't bet on for a while, greyhounds, and then go from there. So I feel maybe the comments don't realise what I do in some phrase, because there's a lot of lovely comments. I really appreciate comments saying, thank you, and this is kind of why I do it. I'm not here to try and look at me, I'm quite good at what I do. It's, here's some bets for free. I would really like you guys to hopefully profit from them. My friend sent me that he made sort of 400 odd quid from his bets. Really, really happy. Really, really happy that you couldn't really, if you followed those bets, you couldn't have done anything but make money. But some people bet bigger than others, and that I'm really happy with, because that can really help, help people when it's not easy out there at the minute. So anytime, that's what I've done. I've been doing this channel for a long time, probably 6-7 years, and I've only just started being paid, and it is very small amounts, which I've got no problem with, since pretty much April, really, May, really. So I'm not doing this for the money. It always was to try and help people. Even when I've posted a recent boxing video of me predicting Kessler to get beat by Andre Ward long time ago. I was doing it then for fun. YouTube was just come out. Me and my friend were just videoing it, being silly, but really, I would have liked people to make money on it. Obviously that comes, people can lose money from my stuff as well. That's why giving tips is a bit of one of those, I don't like doing it, if I'm honest, but I realise people, to view my videos, people will want to, they won't just want me talking about things, they want that as well. So that's primarily why I'm doing the YouTube channel. But really, going back to the gambling, and I think I'm quite rare. I don't have anybody in the game. I don't have anybody that I have tips from. When I hear people interviewing professional gamblers, they're normally in little clubs. They've normally got 6 or 7 people. They're sort of talking to each other. That mate does this mate does this. They bet on the tennis, they bet on the golf. I haven't got anybody. I literally might ask one friend what he thinks about a golf tournament. He doesn't even bet. Like I might ask my friends maybe, but they're not professional gamblers. They're not anybody that really bets properly. I have nobody. I literally do my research from the internet, try and get as much information as I can, and through all the 21 years experience that I've had, 22 years experience I've had, I go for it. And this year with the golf, I know someone really, really happy that someone actually had Justin Rose and Coral. With Coral, they paid him out as a winner, because if they lost in the playoff, they paid him out as a winner. Fantastic. That's what I'm here to do, and that's what I've always tried to do. I'm not saying that I'm an amazing professional gambler, I'm brilliant, and I know this and I know that. All I know is that I've been doing this a long time, and I have been making money all the time doing it. Even when I finished uni and I needed some more money, I just finished, I wanted to pay off all the rest of the debt and everything. I got a job at William Hill for a year and a half. Even then, when I first started at William Hill, I was earning £400 in a month. I was just a cashier doing very few hours, and I was making probably around £800, £900 a month minimum through gambling. Even then, I would still say that I was a professional gambler, because I paid for all my bills, all my rent, all my utilities, going out money, holidays, all through gambling, rather than that £400 for the first few months when I was at William Hill before I became a manager. That was nothing. That was sort of just about ticking over sort of little bits and pieces. But the 800 to £2,000 I was making then, while I was at work, I got in trouble for being on camera, putting bets on and things like that, because realistically that I had time in the evenings to do that, and I made, I was making good money, more money from that. Would I have suggested I was a professional gambler then? I mean, the months that I was making maybe £1,500 a month, I would say even then I was a professional gambler rather than being a professional kind of cashier in a normal job. So this is where this whole video, am I a professional gambler, goes into. And then since I left that job at a year and a half, I think I've been a professional gambler the whole time. I think I've written down I've logged every single bet that I've placed from every year. I lost a lot of years when my old computer went down, unfortunately, so I had probably 10 years gone from there, but I've still got my last however many years all logged down, all very basic, all in a notepad of what I've made, what I've lost, what I've made. And so I believe that I am a professional gambler, but I'd be very interested to see what everyone else thinks constitutes as a professional gambler, because maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just making a little bit of extra income on the side of, well, I've got no other income, so maybe I'm just sort of a low earning worker that's nothing to do with professional gambling. One thing I was told when I must have been 18, 19, when I was first learning about it, I never spoke to anyone about gambling. I was just making money and I was very happy. Nothing, no major. I was having some big bets. I had £800 on 4-1, which is early doors. That for me was all my money on Brazil to win the World Cup. I mean, that was one of my silly first bets, an education into this isn't going to be as easy, because I was making quite a bit of money and then sort of crashed down after that. It was quite a big hit for someone of that age to have that. But someone said to me, you need to be brilliant at everything. And it interested me, because I thought, well, that makes sense. I'm very good at boxing, clearly not very good at football, but I had a few sports. Golf I was already all good at. I was good at darts, but I needed to be good at everything. So I started looking at everything, and I actually found I had a bit of a knack for the specials betting, like X Factor. I made some really good money from X Factor, made some really good money from Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother. Those, I could kind of get immersed into them, watch them, listen to what people were saying. I could get a general feel. And then, because I had the odds on my side, I knew the odds better than everyone else. I was like, this to me should be much less. If I really like someone, that's a really good indicator for me. There was a girl, Isabella. I talked about it with my friends. We were watching Big Brother. Isabel, I think her name was. And she was 8-1. I thought she'd only come in late to this. She was a bit low. She was very different to everyone else, and not an outcast, but I could tell everyone was going to like her. And I had quite a big bet. She did come on to win. She won quite convincingly. And it just, sometimes I think we can overcomplicate things with gambling. And that I was not going to. I was just like eight. I would have had her maybe a quarter of that, 2-1. I think she's still an okay bet of that. And what I suppose, going back to the am I a professional gambler, even then, that was, many years ago. I still think that's how a professional gambler would do things. They would look at everything, all the information they could get, and then bet a certain amount that they're comfortable with within their bankroll and go from that. And that's what I've always done. I've never bet on a name. I've never bet on a number, a colour. It's not, I don't, the interest for me is trying to find the winners. Yes, if I win 10 grand or if I win, 50p, I like the working things out. I really do, and always have. The money, even when I won quite a lot on Amir Khan, I won a serious amount, on Tiger Woods. I put £700 on him at 7-1 to win back-to-back tournaments. I'd also had £1,000 on him to win the same tournament before the Bridgestone. And a funny situation, but I won a lot of money from those bets. But the money was, yes, it really helped at the time, and yes, it was great to have done that. But working it out and realizing you've managed to pick through all that, and you've taken the risk, for me is a much bigger thing than anything else. The money, I don't know, it's sort of a nice reward, but really very chuffed that I've managed to consistently do this for however long I have. The trouble is with it as well, with this video, is proving stuff is very difficult. I bet with a lot of my friends' accounts, so I can't show you my friend. I could, and I have done previously with a couple of things. I don't like doing it, but I have done. I feel a bit dodgy with that because you just don't know what could be. I could take pictures of my bet slips, but again, that's controversial because someone could then say they lost a slip. They could write out my slip in the exact thing that I show on the video, because on some of my videos I won't pick up a slip for another couple of weeks. Someone could go, yeah, I've lost a slip, take it into a shop, whoever I bet with it, and say there it is, and they sign it and say yeah, and they could pay them out on that. I go to say, and they could say no, it's already been paid out. Proving it is very difficult, and also I don't really like sharing too much of that information, because even if I prove it, people could go, well, you could have lost 2 grand on, you might have won 1,500 here, but you could have lost 2 grand on that. Yes, I could. There is trust involved, unfortunately. So even if I prove everything, show everything, people will still question me. And I don't know if I can prove it, and I don't know if I definitely want to prove. I would like my YouTube channel to have shown all over these years that I can do, I'm doing what I'm doing. This year's gone really well for the channel. Had a couple of blowouts on a couple of golf tournaments, but apart from that, we're in really good profit to any level stake, for bigger bettors, for smaller bettors. That's what I want to do. I want this to choose this, and I don't want to delete videos. Some, they will get taken down, so if people think that I'm taking them down, I'm not. YouTube, they've had a couple that have said they've violated their guidelines, which I've appealed, and then they've said, actually, you're fine. I mean, I've taken them down. They've taken them down by that point, so that's kind of pointless. So in summary, this video, it's been a bit long-winded, not exactly what I wanted. I wanted it a bit shorter, but in summary, am I a professional gambler? Yes. We can all argue maybe I don't make as much as what someone might claim a professional should make, which is fair enough. But to me, I am, and I think statistically and from what defines a professional gambler and what I've read, I believe I tick those boxes. Am I making millions? Am I rich? No, no, no. I am, getting by. I'm doing okay. I'm doing, I think, what most people probably in this sort of era where it's pretty tough and inflation's high. I think COVID wasn't easy. I didn't get any money, like everyone was furloughed and stuff. I got no money, and I've never had any money. I've never gone on the dole, anything like that. I've never taken any money for things like that. So I've had to always, even through COVID, I've just sucked it up and just gone, okay, well, that's not been easy, but that's what it is. Is it a great lifestyle? Yes. I mean, I enjoy it. Essentially, what I've always wanted to do is, again, going back to money doesn't really mean too much to me. What I wanted to do always was potentially maybe work 1 hour a week, or maybe get it down to maybe about 3 hours a month. That was always the plan. Can you make enough to pay your bills, pay everything in around 3 hours a month? I don't know what people think of that. I'd be really interested to see what you guys think about that. Maybe it's me being lazy, and maybe it is. The weather's amazing out there. I want to be out there watching some of the golf on my phone while I'm getting a tan, if I'm completely honest. But it's always been my goal. It's not to be stupid rich and you know, have someone that has loads of passive incomes and invests in loads of things. Couldn't care less for any of that. I want to do 1 hour a week, if not less, get my money, and then enjoy the rest of the month doing whatever I do. That's, you know, that's always been the plan. I hope you liked the video, guys. Sorry for the bit of a ramble. Got another video coming up very soon on golf next week, British Open golf. Really looking forward to that. Hope you're good, guys, but most importantly, take care.